Hello, everyone. I'm Alison Centofante, Vice President of Communications here at Americans United for Life. And I'm joined by Carolyn McDonnell, our amazing litigation counsel at AUL. Thank you for joining me, Carolyn.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited about this case, and I'm glad we can share our involvement with it and what it's really about with our supporters.
Yeah, we're going to talk today about Medina versus Planned Parenthood South Atlantic. It's the case you may have heard that's happening at the Supreme Court in just a few weeks that deals with Medicaid funding, Planned Parenthood's funding. And so that's something that we in the pro-life movement have had our eyes on for a long time. Planned Parenthood is the nation's largest abortion provider. They have a stream of funding coming from our taxpayer dollars. The largest taxpayer revenue stream for them is Medicaid. And this case at the court threatens their continued funding. So talk to us about that, Carolyn. We filed a brief at AUL in the case. You've been all over this, doing so many things publicly and privately. And so please, I just want to take an opportunity. I want to hear from you, the expert on this case. What has AUL done? What is the issue at hand, and what could we expect in April as we hear the case, and then likely in June when we get the decision?
Yeah, so this case is about a very intensive legal issue, but it boils down to, can Planned Parenthood even bring this type of lawsuit in federal court? Our answer is no, and that's what we wrote about in our brief, supporting the pro-life advocates as they're standing up to Planned Parenthood to try to get this case out of federal court because it doesn't belong there. But really, the case stems because South Carolina determined that Planned Parenthood is not qualified to provide Medicaid services because they are also abortion providers. And any direct funding of an abortion provider, it includes the indirect subsidization of abortion, which means that we're subsidizing the taking of human life. We're also channeling these funds away from authentic women's healthcare and towards these abortion providers.
It's really, really good. So the best way that I've come to understand the case and explain it to others is just to acknowledge that each state administers its Medicaid dollars and decides which providers are qualified. Doctors, hospitals, medical providers, and that states do often disqualify providers. It's good. We don't want bad actors in there. And they might do that for many different reasons, whether that's fraud, mistreatment of patients, a failure to provide certain medical services. The state can remove a recipient from Medicaid. Is that a fair understanding?
That is fair. I mean, some of these really reasons don't relate to the medical care itself. It doesn't matter if Planned Parenthood can provide, say, STD testing or these other services. Really, what it's about is that states have broad authority to disqualify providers, and it can be based upon fraud, waste, other financial integrity issues. And here, they're concerned about financial integrity because this money is going towards subsidizing abortion, albeit indirectly. But again, that's subsidizing the taking of human life, and it's churning and channeling these funds away from authentic women's healthcare.
That's really good. So, in the pro-life movement, we know who Planned Parenthood is. For those that may still believe that they are some sort of women's healthcare provider, do you want to walk us through that, Carolyn, of how, the state of South Carolina is seeing Planned Parenthood, how we see Planned Parenthood, and why we do think it's okay to remove them from receiving these Medicaid dollars?
Exactly. So one of the biggest issues we have with Planned Parenthood is 97% of their pregnancy outcomes are abortions versus miscarriage management versus birth versus and even over the past few years, their adoption services have been diminishing until the point that they're virtually non-existent. They are prioritizing a platform of abortion. And we can see this. There are political activists going and lobbying before Congress, taking these cases into courts and trying to create this abortion platform and imposing it upon the United States. Here, South Carolina has determined that they don't want to subsidize abortion in any form, and that's why they disqualified Planned Parenthood. And that's really what this case is about.
Well, that really makes sense, Carolyn, because taxpayer dollars shouldn't be going to clinics engaged in things like abuse and fraud. And, we know Planned Parenthood won't even abide by common sense health and safety standards, basic things like admitting privileges for doctors, making sure your hallways are wide enough for a gurney to get through. And we've heard horrific stories of countless women that have been hurt inside these facilities. So we say kudos to South Carolina for disqualifying them from their Medicaid program. And other states have looked to do the same. So talk us through, the oral arguments in the case will be heard April 2nd, correct, in Washington, D.C. and they
Yes,
will
that's right.
likely have a decision in the summer. Talk us through what our options are here and the ways the court may rule and what might happen after that, what it would mean for other states who have tried to do the same.
Yeah, this is a very straightforward legal answer, so it's probably going to be a yes no answer. So yes, they have this right to bring this lawsuit in federal court, which means that they'll proceed, probably send it back down to the court, see if it will go to the merits. Were they properly disqualified for this? But we also have the no answer, which means the court's going to say no, you don't have this implied private right of action to bring this case into federal court. It's just gone. So it would be a procedural win, and it would just kick the lawsuit out of federal court altogether, and they couldn't challenge this in federal court. And we care about that because if they can bring this lawsuit into federal court, it gives them an easier way to challenge this dequalification and decertification, but also they could also get attorneys fees from the state for this. So we're talking about a substantial amount of money. So not only would South Carolina have to defend against this, they would have to pay for it if Planned Parenthood wins in court.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So tell us more about AUL's brief specifically. What does that entail when our team comes together and says, thanks to our great supporters, we have this amazing legal team. We come together, we file a brief to the court. What does that look like? And how, I mean, just talk to me about the legal team. I'm on the communications team. Talk to me about what that looks like on your end of things.
Well, we have a fabulous legal team. Everybody really chips in on these briefs. I think I counted my hours on one of the briefs we did last year, and it was well over 80 hours just for me working on it, let alone all the edits I received from other legal team members. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work that our supporters don't actually see. We go in, we draft these briefs, we read through all the court documents, see what this case is about, and we find the best way that we can support the pro-life advocate. So here we used our legal expertise to get to the heart of the issue and answer that legal question of whether Planned Parenthood can even bring this type of lawsuit in federal court. And it's such a blessing, really, that we have such generous supporters, because it's through their support that we're able to do these briefs and then go in practice before the United States Supreme Court on these major abortion cases.
And, Americans United for Life has been involved in every single Supreme Court case involving abortion, leading up to Roe v. Wade, continuing after, which is so awesome. But we're up against a really well-funded opponent here in Planned Parenthood. I mean, we know, looking at their numbers, that they have millions in assets and that they are failing in services. And they should truly be shaking in their boots right now. I've been tracking it. The New York Times did a big expose on Planned Parenthood's failure to take care of women. They have left women with stillbirths after telling them that they aborted their child. They have hurt women through IUDs, hemorrhaging, sepsis. It's awful. And the New York Times exposed that. So Planned Parenthood's facing that. We're also facing the Supreme Court case. It could threaten their largest taxpayer funding stream. The pro-life movement has a lot to be excited for and a lot to be, I think, supporting and pushing momentum forward, because for Planned Parenthood, it will be death by 1,000 cuts, right? It will be tarnishing their reputation, going after their funding, all in pursuit of saving innocent preborn lives that are killed there every day. We've supported the Pregnancy Research Center arm of that at AUL, and just this holistic approach to saving children, taking care of the mother, and having the best lawyers pursuing the best legislation, both in the state and at a federal level. So thank you so much for all you guys are doing. Is there anything else you want to talk to us about the Supreme Court case here, and limiting Medicaid funding? We want to cheer on South Carolina. They're free to use their Medicaid dollars how they'd like, and we hope that they prevail and that other states will be vindicated in their ability to do the same.
I mean, this is a very exciting moment. Really, it has been a 10-year struggle ever since David Daleiden went undercover into Planned Parenthood and exposed alleged fetal trafficking for valuable consideration. So really, this has been a 10-year struggle. And since then, pro-life states have desperately tried to defund Planned Parenthood. And finally, we're getting the Supreme Court to review one of these issues of whether they can even challenge the decertification as being a Medicaid provider. So it's a very exciting moment, and I think it's going to have positive ramifications for the pro-life movement and also the defense of authentic women's healthcare and, of course, the defense of unborn human life here.
It's a wonderful tie-in, a great memory. A sad memory, but a good tie-in. If you can remember, friends, the video that you saw of the woman eating salad, drinking wine, and horrifically talking about selling baby body parts, saying, "I want a Lamborghini." That's where her mind was. And it's a good point that you make, Carolyn, to remember that and thinking, what can we do? This is so awful. I don't want to fund this organization. To now being here almost 10 years later, you said, at a place where the Supreme Court is hearing us, is hearing a pro-life state saying they should be disqualified from our Medicaid program. We don't want our taxpayer dollars going to them. There is better, authentic health care for women that supports them and their families far and beyond. So thank you for saying that. That's a very big visual image of where we've come. And it's only from the tireless efforts of the pro-life movement, pushing in culture, in law, and policy. I'm really excited to see where this goes, and we will all be waiting to see how the judges rule, praying for them as well. Planned Parenthood is I think, a black eye on our nation's care for humans. No woman should walk into a Planned Parenthood ever. They should know what they do there. They end the lives of children and they destroy the lives of women. And we're going to stand united. We're so lucky to have you, Carolyn, and the legal team fighting against the work that they're doing to make money off of pregnant women and their children. And we as a nonprofit are here pro bono offering our services in so many ways to women, to the Supreme Court with this case and this brief of just the best knowledge, best case. Can people go read our brief if they're attorneys listening, or where can they find out more about this case?
It's publicly available on our website. We post all of our resources, briefs, other policy reports. We like to make them available for anybody who wants to go read about our defense of human life.
Awesome. We'll be following along with you and your great work and this case, of course. Thank you so much for jumping in here to tell everyone about this case, Carolyn. We're really excited for it and your good work.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. And thank you to those listening. We are just so excited to be able to be such a premier legal organization fighting for life only because of the support of people like you. So make sure you follow us on social media at Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, whatever you prefer. And then go on AUL.org, sign up for our email alerts, make a donation of any amount. It's so appreciated as we continue to grow our team to fight back against the abortion industry in every state and at a federal level. Thank you and God bless.